You better
It's really,
sure.
really recording. Welcome back.
So there's a little bit of tension on set.
We got a preface, man. We just shot this video and I did not record it.
Kelly's like, good thing we got our jitters out. I didn't have jitters. I delivered a perfect performance.
I didn't, so now we can both be on the same level.
All right, well,
anyway,
take her away.
Welcome back to the MCREY. Welcome back to the MCREY Sister YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about the best places to learn how to ride a dirt bike in Southern California. Take it away.
So one of the most important pieces of learning how to ride a dirt bike is picking the best place to learn how to ride a dirt bike. There's so many areas that you can go riding, especially in Southern California. It kind of feels like we're the mecca of off-roading and dirt biking. But finding the right area that is suitable to your skill level and not too dangerous or gonna put you in a situation that you maybe don't know how to get out of is really important. So we've picked the 5 places that we ride at the most, and we think, you know, there's pros and cons to each and our recommendations for beginner riders, but you know, obviously these are all kind of like north of LA County area, so we're sure there's plenty others south of us and, you know, in the Temecula area in San Diego, but we just don't ride those areas as much. So but we'd love to, you know, hear if there are more down there. We'd love to hear pros and cons. I don't like that.
Slide into our DMs.
I don't like. You can cut that out.
Okay.
Well, now you know the list, so take it away.
All right, first place we're going to talk about is...
Are you kidding? First place we're going to talk about is Gorman, otherwise known as Hungry Valley SVRA. So this is 45 minutes north of, I mean, it's LA County, but 45 minutes north of where we're at. Super easy to get to, and it's a state park, so it's very clean. They have bathrooms, there's park rangers that are there to assist you should you need anything, and they provide a trail map of all the different trails that they have accessible and the different vehicles that they're accessible to.
Yeah, and it's nice because they also maintain those trails, so they'll sometimes have them closed off just to do regular maintenance on them, make sure everything's good to go. So it's definitely a well taken care of area to go riding in.
So I think, you know, the cons, those are the pros, if you couldn't catch on.
Yeah, pros, easy to get to. It's got designated areas. If you have a map, it's super easy to get back to your campsite because everything is well labeled. So, all right,
Cons of Gorman. So because it's so close, it is a very popular destination for a lot of people to go play on the weekends, especially I think for beginners. So it gets really, really busy on the weekends, and it's open to dirt bikes, UTVs, and 4x4s. So some of the trails are marked, you know, for different vehicle types. People don't always follow that. Even the one-way trail signs people don't follow. We've had people come up the wrong way on a one-way trail on us. So you just have to be careful. You never know what's going to be coming around the corner. Literally last weekend we saw a young girl on a quad fly in front of a truck on the fire road, which was pretty scary. So you always just kind of have to be careful. You never know what's coming around the other turn. I'm about to sneeze and I can't think. On that.
With that being said, with like being aware of your surroundings and making sure you're not going too fast for how, like, you never want to be going too fast. You always want to be in a position that if you need to hit the brakes, you can, because there are a lot of hairpin turns where you literally cannot see what's coming around the corner, and
also sends you off into a tree or off the side of the cliff.
Yes, and they do kind of come out of nowhere because it's very brown with like it's a lot of the same. So it's not like you have these definitive, oh, that looks like a turn. Sometimes you come up on it and you're like, oh crap, this turn literally goes the complete opposite direction. So it's really good. You just have to be aware. And someone coming around that turn, you never know. There's also a lot of like main roads, which is great for getting to certain places. And if you do happen to get lost or if there's an injury, there's like main roads to get back. But with that, there's usually like
a lot of cross traffic.
Exactly. So it's all about heightened senses, man, and just making sure you're always in a position to be hitting your brakes, keep 2 fingers on that clutch and on your brake.
They're still learning with their clutches. This is for beginners.
You got it.
But yeah, so basically, lower area where the campgrounds are. It's really busy. The rolling hill, like a lot of rolling hills and low shrubbery. So it seems like it's a really great place, but there's also a lot of traffic. And then as you start to get away from the campgrounds, it's a lot of tighter trails. I don't want to say single track, but it is a lot of like tighter trails on the sides of mountains, on tops of ridges. So our recommendation, not the best place for beginners to learn how to ride. This is somewhere that maybe you'll go once you get the hang of, as Kelly said, the clutch and your brakes, and just getting the feel for being on a bike. And then once you're a little bit more comfortable, you can hit up Gorman. If you do want to go to Gorman and you are, beginner, well, just in general, anyone going to Gorman, if you can get there during the week, there is no one there, like Monday through Thursday.
Early in the morning.
I mean, even in the afternoon, like there's very few people there. It feels like you have the whole park to yourself. So if you can, that's definitely the best option that I would recommend.
Yep.
All right, number two,
we have Cal City, also known as California City is like the actual city, and then Cal City is what we call the area in which we ride, and there's the Cal City MX Park as well as Borax Bills.
And so there's an associated blog with this YouTube. So in the blog, there's links to all of the different locations that we're talking about. And we'll also put those links in the notes for this as well, so you can see exactly where we're talking about. But for Cal City, I recommend mapping to Borax Bills. And then, because that's where you have to get, if you don't have the proper permits, you can get those there. And then from there, you can go north and start to figure out like where you want to camp. But pros of Cal City, it is relatively flat, like for riding area, all things considered, it's super flat. It's really easy to drive trucks and cars and trailers into, and it's a great place to learn how to ride because there's, like we said, it's flat. There's no like major shrubbery or anything. You just kind of have to watch out for the berms because they do get hidden in the once everything starts to turn the same color, it's like hard to see some of those hidden obstacles. But it used to be it started as a housing development that never got developed. So there are like roads that actually have street names, so it is super easy to like find places to go using street names, and you can always just like reference basically the housing grid. I don't know if that makes sense, but like
and if you have maps, or we recommend dropping a pin when you're at your campsite and keeping your phone with you, and then if you feel like you're getting lost, you can open that up. And there's so many trails that go in different directions, which is really fun, but can also make it easy to get lost, but at the same time not so much, because then you're like so many options to get back to your campsite. You're like, I gotta go in that direction, and there's usually a trail that will take you that way. So
another pro is there is more technical riding the further that you get away from the campsite. So if once you start to get comfortable, if you're like, okay, I want to try like going up a hill, or I want to try riding through some rocks, or you want to start getting onto some more aggressive trails, like those options are available from Cal City. You just kind of got to ride a little ways past the campgrounds. But as you get more familiar, they do have marked trails by number, trail 12, 44, whatever, that you can start to follow on a map and get more comfortable with that area.
Yep. Some of the cons?
Yeah. Super easy to get lost. It's also because it's so flat and it is so easy to get to, it does get really crowded, especially on holiday weekends. For the most part, I mean, in general, holiday weekends on any of these places, super busy. But because, Cal City, there are so many places to camp, you can usually see the other campgrounds. What?
I'm just laughing. I had, just leftover laughter.
But yeah, so it does get really busy, and because a lot of the roads are so flat, people do go really, really fast. Unfortunately, we have experienced this firsthand where we lost a family member in a 2-vehicle collision going really fast on, two of these roads and crossing an intersection. So just be really careful. And again, this is kind of just across the board. Look both ways at intersections. We're going to do another YouTube talking about some of like the key things you should know and like the MCREY riding rules that we recommend you follow, or the rules that we follow that we think have helped us in multiple situations. But Overall recommendation, Cal City is a great place to learn how to ride. And there's like a little bit something for everybody of different riding levels.
Yeah.
All right, number 3.
Number 3, my lord.
Pick number 3.
The Princess Fiona of riding.
This is our new favorite spot.
Yes.
So Spangler Hills, otherwise known as Red Mountain, Trona, Ridgecrest, Dirt Diggers, it's all kind of in the same area.
Yeah.
So pros, because it's such a big area, there are a lot of places to camp. And you can either be in a big group, like more of the Dirt Digger, Spangler Hills area, where you'll just see camps of like 50 to 100 trailers. Yeah. Or you can kind of go off and be more secluded and be more in, if you go off Trona Road, you can pick a camp spot and you're by yourself all weekend. So with that being said, the riding, you don't run into as many people on the trails because there are so many places to ride, and so many places to ride from, which is great. And the terrain is all, again, relatively flat, a lot of rolling hills, low shrubbery. There's not a lot for you to run into unless you really tried, which we've all been there, no judgment. But yeah, overall, a really, really great place to learn how to ride.
Yeah. I would say just the major con, which we experienced firsthand, is it is easy to get lost. Yep. Things start to really look the same out there, and especially other areas we have ridden for years. We have not ridden this area for years, so for us, we got lost with a couple friends for like 4 hours, so we recommend, again, drop a pin.
Kelly really wants you to know to drop a pin. Lord!
GPS. Map.
Drop a pin. Carry water.
Granola bar, water.
Make sure your gas tank is topped off.
Yeah, and if you can find some landmarks to associate with your campsite that you can look out for to get back to, it's always a good thing.
Except when the landmark is on. Can you see the golf ball? Yes. 4 hours later, can you see the golf ball? I can still see it, but I'm in a different place.
Yeah, so I feel like that's like the major con, but
kind of, I'm gonna pull a Poppy, taking that and going back to pros. There's always camp, like, because it's so spread out and it's such a big area, but there's so many people there are a lot of campsites that you can usually see. Like, even if you just go to the top of a hill, you can find another campsite, ask someone, hey, do you know where we're located? Where's Trona Road, or which way to Dirt Diggers, whatever, and they'll help you get back.
Yeah, there are some main roads and highways, so they can always lead you back to that, which will bring you right back to your campsite.
So our recommendation, great place to learn how to ride a dirt bike. It's also our recommendation, drop a pin. No.
It's so funny. I've never dropped a pin.
I know. I'm like, coming from the girl who doesn't even have her phone on her. Kelly could leave her phone at the fucking house for a whole weekend, and like we'll take off in the RV, and she's like, oh, I left my phone. And I'm like, do you need it? She's like, no.
And Baby's like, well, you run our social media.
You run our social media. So yeah, the irony of Kelly, drop a pin. You drop a pin. Do you know how to drop a pin? That's going to be our next list. You don't even know how to drop a pin.
Okay, I know how to drop a pin.
I do. So our recommendation, great place for beginners to learn how to ride. It's also super close to Randsburg, which is a really fun place to go get a malt milkshake. Have to get the malt.
Gotta get the malt.
A couple beers, some food with your friends. It's, again, poppin' on holiday weekends, so it is a fun place to hang out, and you can get there by car. So if there's anyone in your group who doesn't ride off-road vehicles, they can meet you there for lunch.
Boom shakalaka.
So number 4. I was like, I was trying to think of something that like went with number 4, but
I don't know. 4. Quattro.
4, Dove Springs. Pros, it's kind of similar to Spangler Hills in the sense that it's a lot of rolling hills, low shrubbery. It's like pretty easy to get to, easy to find a camping spot. Those are the pros.
I was gonna say, like we said, it's pretty similar to Ridgecrest. I would say I haven't been there in a few years, and Paige has been there more recently, so I think you could touch on it more. But that's how I remember it, and it just being a great place. I would highly recommend it for beginners.
I think the only like cons, again, it is more of a kind of focused or not. I can never think of it. Like it's like condensed area, so you'll be camping a lot closer to a lot of other groups than you would if you were at Spangler's or Spangler Hills or Cal City. So again, it gets really busy. Just being mindful of your surroundings, and people coming from different directions and different types of vehicles. It does get a little sandy kind of down because you're kind of in the valley. So just be mindful. You could hit some sandy spots, but
sit back and throttle out.
Yeah, lean back and throttle out. That's the best way to. Faster you go, the easier it is to get through sand. So, and it's not, it's not massive areas of sand. It's usually like patches of sand. So, overall recommendation: Dove Springs, great place to learn how to ride. It also is. You can get to Randsburg from there as well. It's a little bit farther away. We recommend taking a little trip over to the Jawbone Canyon store. They have live music and drinks and food, especially, I don't know if it's every weekend, but I know on holiday weekends, it's a really, really fun place to hang out.
Spot.
Yeah, and it's a great place to take your kids, because I feel like, you're out in the desert for 5 days or whatever camping, like, you want to think of some other things to do to change up your day and get the kids engaged, and especially if they're not necessarily at an age where they're riding all day, you can get to it by car as well, so it's a really fun place for the whole fam.
Yeah, boom. And that brings us to number 5, which is
Last
Jawbone.
but not least, Dove Springs' much more mature sister,
Yeah.
Jawbone. Kelly's Dove Springs, I'm Jawbone.
Just don't go there.
So the pros, the most visually appealing, aesthetically pleasing of all of them, in my opinion.
If you want to take a sweet pic on your dirt bike,
And depending on the camping spot that you go to, there's a lot more mountains, cliffs, some really cool hill climbs, awesome place to camp. You can even, I don't know if this is legal, but like you go back into one of the canyons, you could shoot guns, like obviously just make sure that the mountain's behind you and not something else. But it's overall a really, really just like cool place to be camping. However, more cons than pros for beginners. It does, I forgot this in the first one, it gets really windy because the wind just kind of funnels through the canyon slot, and so it has a tendency to get pretty windy in there. It also gets really sandy on the valley floor, and then it's surrounded by pretty tall, like we said, mountains, hill climbs.
like even the beginner trails at Jawbone are still like smaller hill climbs. Like you're still going to be going up and down hills.
Yeah, we learned that the hard way.
We took a beginner
It's
out
not
there.
funny. It's not funny. It was not intentional.
No.
We had a beginner with us. We thought we were taking her on an easy ride, like just kind of like a warm-up easy ride. It was not. And
like even I was like focusing on the trail. Like I wasn't just like la da da. Like it was definitely a little more intense.
There were a couple downhill sections, and I was like, "Ooh, she's gonna hate us."
Yeah, and it was not funny. She ended up doing it, and she crushed it for like being. I think it was literally her first time.
Yeah.
Riding.
No, it was like her
second,
yeah.
but still, it was like very, very. But
We felt
after that, because that was probably like the most beginner trail we could have taken her on,
other than like the flat road to
Yeah.
get into.
Yeah, because even our dad was the one that was like, "Hey, why don't you guys just ride around right there?" And we're like, "Okay."
All of a sudden, we found ourselves on a downhill slope.
Yeah, so
It was like going off the top of Mammoth, and we were just looking straight down.
listening to Chief was probably not.
This is why we are the way that we are, because Dad's like, that's easy, and then all of a sudden we're like 90 degree going straight downhill, and he's like,
Well-
why can't you do it? I'm like, well, Dad, you didn't tell me how to do it.
Yeah, that's not the place. Like, I would definitely recommend hitting some of like the hills in Cal City or Ridgecrest or Gorman first. Like,
Before working your way up.
Jawbone
to
is
the
definitely more of an intermediate level area.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say start with, Spangler, Cal City, Dove Springs, and then work your way up to Gorman, get more comfortable in Gorman, and then Jawbone would be. So we hope you found this helpful. If you have any additional pros and cons you want to add, or anything, other areas to ride, we'd love to hear about it. So drop that in the comments.
I like it.
Peace out.
That is all.